And we are back. We are large and in charge on 1039 WYAB, blasting off on our 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal. And we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at the mothership of Mississippi Talk Radio, WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up our radio signal, hit us up on our live stream. We'd appreciate it if you like, subscribe, share, let everybody know that we're streaming and that we're not broadcasting the same old stories that everybody else is talking about. We're informing you, we're growing you, we're making it to where we can go ahead and have a real influence here in Mississippi. Look, if you want to be part of the program today, the number is 601 879 0002. The text line is open 601 879 5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. It is standard, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. That's right. And look, I got so many text messages yesterday about the weather. It really felt like a GBU 12 was lazed in right next to my bedroom window. I'm not going to say it like lifted me out of the bed, but I thought for sure that the windows were cracked. Dogs were going nuts. Even the sheep were upset, and the sheep usually don't get upset over nothing. It was a really close one, but it's no big deal. We just continue to go, and you know what? We got to be positive with things like this. Didn't lose power. I didn't even have a power flash or a power flicker. Nothing. It was really good. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you already are doing. And we are going to build each other up today, ladies and gentlemen, because the world needs us. Mississippi needs us. Our community needs us to go out there and point out the things that are going good and go out there and point out the things that aren't going so good. It's just how it works here in Mississippi and in life. And it's just been one of those days where I know where I need to go. I know where I need to get to, but we've got to start somewhere. And the only place to start, I think, is CNN and what's going on with Abby's Phillip. I don't know if you know her. She is the radio talk show host who is a leftist disinformation propaganda tool for the left. And I like did some digging and investigating on her show. But she is the one who claimed that the ISIS attack in New York wasn't an ISIS attack. And we just got she had to say, I'm sorry. But this is a ongoing thing with CNN. And it's getting to the point to where we need to start actively protesting CNN and going after their sponsors and saying, look, if you're going to sponsor this garbage, we're not going to go ahead and use your products anymore because clearly you're anti-American. And make no mistake about it, CNN is anti-American. But listen to this graveling excuse.
But first, this morning I issued a correction first thing in the morning on X for a mistake that I made in last night's show, but I also wanted to do so on air as well. I incorrectly said that the bombs that were thrown by ISIS-inspired suspects in New York over the weekend were directed at Mayor Mamdani. They were not. I failed to catch and correct that mistake in real time, and I take full responsibility for that. And while we do make mistakes, it is important to acknowledge and correct those errors when they happen.
Lady, you are so full of crap. You are so full of garbage. You didn't even say who the ISIS terrorists were attacking. They were attacking a group of New Yorkers who I probably wouldn't even agree with most of the time, basically protesting that the religion of Islam is not compatible with New York. They wanted the Muslims out. That's why they were doing that. And there is a scary video. It's 18 seconds long. I'm not sure I'm going to play it, but the people who were behind CNN's coverage of the ISIS attack were two women, Taylor Romaine and Gloria Pazmino. And they have this guy on the blowhorn basically talking, and then you can see one of the ISIS terrorists running up right behind him and throwing the bomb over his shoulder. and it is terrifying. And as a military guy, we've all seen the look if we've been downrange, and if you've seen it, you know. And to have it captured here in New York is absolutely terrifying. I've decided I'm not going to play it. That's just a bridge too far. But the point is that CNN is full of hot garbage, and they can't be trusted. They really can't be trusted. So, who here remembers the forehead staying with CNN and not shamelessly, but reverently bringing up Maha Rashi? He used to call Paul Begala the forehead. And the forehead was on CNN, and he goes on this rant, and you'll see why I'm getting here. You'll see why I'm getting here. And I just want you guys to listen to this because it just goes to show you how false and fake CNN really is.
He has spent $15 million in 1 month for ribeye steak, $6.9 million for lobster tail, $225 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
all
do you
for
believe,
himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe
while our troops are eating MREs?
No. Do you
lobster
believe,
tails?
Do you believe the Secretary of Defense is personally eating all the lobster?
Well, he
It's
can't
for
eat
the
16.
Troops.
Oh, really? The troops are getting
And
lobster
frequently.
Brothers, defect.
So Paul Begala gets on CNN and goes and looks at the DFAC food bill for one meal and figures out that we bought a lot of steak and we bought a lot of lobster for our troops over in harm's way, defending us from those terrorists from Iran. The IRGC, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis. And those of us who are in the military, we know this happening all the time. Navy, it's a division dinner. I don't know what we call it in the Air Force. To be truthful with you, deploying in the Air Force was absolutely incredible because it was just a really great deal. We deployed to places where we always had really great food, great DFAC. It was a cut above. And I'm not trying to bash on the Army, Marines, Navy, or Coast Guard, but when it comes to DFAC food, the Air Force is where it's at. So Paul Begala sits there and goes off and just starts questioning this. And what's really telling to me is it's only Scott Jennings from CNN who's trying to challenge this. It's only Scott Jennings. All the other talking heads, postcard people sitting there, they're just agreeing with Paul Begala. No one is standing up to him, but Scott Jennings is. And so they took this video and they started going ahead and showing the troops at the DFAC.
Has steak and lobster. How's your steak and lobster?
All right, damn, you're decent.
How's yours?
I'm ready for war.
We're going to war.
In
Oh,
theater,
my God.
troops who are going to war.
Oh,
eat
my God.
Great meal. You
Okay.
know that.
They're
You
getting
know
lobster. You are so
That. You're
full
gonna
of
get
it.
killed over this.
You are
You're
so
gonna get
full
killed
of
over
it.
this. Internet, do something.
And that is the line that we had to get to, ladies and gentlemen. Internet, do something. Paul Begala is absolutely going out of his way to say that the money that the Department of War spent to feed our troops a special meal was not true. CNN is purposely making you think that Pete Hegseth is ordering up $15 million worth of lobster tails, $22 million worth of ribeye steak, and it's all for himself. And the internet does not disappoint, ladies and gentlemen. The internet does not disappoint. Here's a troop just talking about it. Licking his fingers. You're going to have to double it.
I had to run it back.
That's right, soldier. You go ahead and run it back. Thank you for being over there. So this is like where the internet is so important and so popular, because we can take bold-faced liars. I mean, that's the only way to say it. Like Paul Begala, use his own words against them and going ahead and proving that what they're pushing on the American people, what they're perpetrating on the American people, it's criminal. We're supposed to have a free press, not a yellow press. If Paul Begala would have said, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth bought $22 million worth of lobster and $15 million worth of steaks to feed the troops in Iran, and then went off about it, that would be one thing. But for him to openly deny and mock not only the Secretary of War, but mock the troops who are actually getting a good meal like that, I'll tell you what, there is nothing that builds morale better than 1, a hot shower, 2, a great meal, 3, clean restroom. Those 3 things, you got those 3 things right there, you can pretty much do anything right there. Unfortunately, it's rare that you get one of those, and I'll let you decide which one is the most important to you. But these guys have been living off of MREs under a constant attack. You know, we have lost a few of our brave and valiant troops, and we salute them. We don't take their sacrifice lightly. It wasn't in vain. And despite what CNN and the mainstream media talk about, we here at WYAB, we here in Mississippi and in the United States say we got our troops back. And the big key to this for me when I was watching this and this show was coming together was internet do something. And I often sit here talking to myself thinking, how do I get the audience to do something? I know how busy you all are. Nothing makes me happier from a work perspective from this. And it is work, but I love my job. But nothing makes me happier when I get these unknown texters texting me saying, "Hey, I went and voted today. Thanks for reminding me to vote." You know, that means something to me. Nothing makes me happier when I have people who either A, agree with me or B, disagree with me, and we go back and forth, and they say, "You know what? I don't agree with you, but I see why you think the way you do," and we leave it at that. I would like to think I'd be able to help inspire people to go ahead and become election judges. Don, you made my day. And by the way, Don hopefully will be on the show tomorrow in the 11 o'clock hour talking about his experiences as election judge in Hinds County. But those are the kinds of things that we want to do. You know, internet, do something. WYB, do something. But it's not enough just to say go out and do something. You've got to go ahead and articulate a plan. Clearly, the right-wing memers, the conservative memers are superior to the left wing by far, and that goes without saying. But we wanna I guess that's what's gonna be part of the show is what are we gonna do? What are we gonna try to achieve? What do we want to achieve? Is it that we just wanna get the porn out of our schools? Is it that we wanna have our budgets online? Is it that we want more transparency in our local and state government? I've all but given up on our federal government. It's not that I've given up. I just know that changing that short of a catastrophe is nothing is ever gonna change that. But we can do stuff locally. We're off and running on the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yes, we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB, moving and grooving on our 50,000 watt blowtorch. I wanna play this one again just because there's another place I wanna jump into, but I think the more that we hear the lunacy coming from the liberal left, it's not gonna change anybody who's on the far left or even on the right. But those of you who are in the middle, think about this. Think about this.
He has spent $15 million in 1 month for ribeye steak, 6.9 million for lobster tail, 200.
Real quick, I think I was saying 16 million for lobster and 22 million for ribeye. I was incorrect. It was roughly 16 million for ribeye and another 6.2 million for lobster.
$25 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
all
do you
for
believe,
himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe
while our troops are eating MREs?
No.
So you heard that right? Democrats, where are you? Where are you with all of the fraud that's going on in Minnesota? You'll go haze gray and underway over a $22 million meal for the troops who are eating MREs, but you don't care about the Somali fraud in Minnesota. You don't care about the fraud going on in California, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Maine, New York, Connecticut. You're talking billions and billions of dollars, and you're completely silent. You won't fund DHS to protect our borders, but you'll complain about our troops getting one good meal, improving morale. And by the way, if I do not say so myself, our troops over there, let's just keep it 100. They're kicking a lot of ass. They are taking it to the bad guy. So much so now that Iran has to make cardboard cutouts of their latest Ayatollah Khomeini because they know that we'll schwack them, or Israel will schwack them. And this is the part of war that this is my opinion, but this is the only part of war that the majority of Americans can't comprehend. They can't fathom. They can't put their mind around it. We are such a microwave generation. I mean, we can pick up our cell phone and learn just about anything. You can literally start going over thermodynamics at a doctorate level within 15 seconds of picking up your iPhone. Or you can go look up some smut or some cake pop demon hunters, some Sanford and Son, some I Love Lucy, some Jeffersons, some Flintstones, some WWF. But we sit there and we have all of this information at our fingertips and we just think, oh, we drop a couple of bombs and the war's over. And then you've got this other side of the American spectrum that just wants to live. They're ostriches. That's what they are. They're not eagles. They're ostriches. All they want to do is stick their head in the sand and pretend that nothing's happening. They want to be the ones who sit there and say, oh, no war, no war. And then all of a sudden, when the war comes to you, when the wolf comes to the door, you've got some of these people like in the pink-haired, purple-haired brigade in Minnesota picking up a AR-15 for the first time, loaded, one in the chamber, with absolutely no muzzle awareness, no trigger discipline, no idea on how to properly execute the system. And we're supposed to think that when the wolf comes to our door, we're going to be okay. These people are absolutely ridiculous. These Democrats are just like the Labor Party over in England, who, by the way, just officially opened up their airways for us to go ahead and use, to go ahead and strike targets in Iran. After all the heavy lifting is done, after all the work is done, think about how much more synergy we could have had if we didn't have to fly all those missions from home bases in the United States, if we could have used Diego Garcia, if we could have used Lakenheath. Lakenheath is in England. Obviously, Diego Garcia is the island in the middle of the ocean. Good duty in Diego. I hear the scuba diving's really incredible. But it just goes to show you that those on the left who just want rainbow sunshines and unicorn farts with sparkles, that's not life. And it's coming here. It's coming so quickly, and I do not see the left getting on board with reality. I don't. Even here in Mississippi. Even here in Mississippi. You know, we talked about Mississippi for a Just World, and they're gonna be, on our next TTP Tuesday. We're gonna take a deep dive into them. But these are the active minority people, minority group people, not minority as in ethnic minority, but minority as in liberal brain rot, gut garbage. They get the news, they get put on CNN, they get put on, uh, newspapers around the state to make them something that they're not. And it's just up to us to do that. And if we can't even agree on that simple premise that we need First Amendment journalism, or we need journalism that is protected free speech. But if you're gonna just go out there and make opinions, just say that it's an opinion. Don't call it journalism. It's not a free press. It's bought and paid for. I looked it up. CNN's number one advertiser, pharmaceutical companies. Second, followed by automotive companies, followed by financial services. That's what's keeping CNN afloat right now. When I went to drive down deeper, I had to go log into a website, pay $7.50 to get the actual commercial breakdown, and I don't wanna do that. Maybe somebody else will wanna do that, but not me. How many of us even go to CNN anymore? If I don't have it clipped on X, I don't know, and that's like the same thing with The View. I did get a few texts about I guess there was some clip going viral on The View. I don't even wanna give those ladies any time of day, unless it's just such a grand slam home run, knocked out of the park, made them look so dorky. That's all I wanted. That's the only time I ever wanna put The View on the airwaves. Same with CNN. And I know Paramount, Skydance has bought out CNN. When are they gonna get rid of the Abby's Phillips show? When are they gonna get rid of some of these old liberal dinosaur talking heads who say the same thing over and over again and again? They don't bring any substance to the fight. They don't bring any real ideas to the fight. I'm sitting here looking at support for our president. It's through the roof. Despite what the Democrats and the Republicans, because there are some Republicans who are so anti-Trump. When we get back from the break, I've got a 4-minute video. I don't know how much of it I'm gonna play. But you thought Roger Wicker didn't like President Trump? Wait till you hear what John Cornyn says about Donald Trump. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. I appreciate everybody tuning in and listening today. Show's moving on. We're going to listen to some John Cornyn coming up. No time to wait. We got to move. We got to move. We got to move. Look, I am not ashamed to say that I support President Trump. I don't agree with everything he does, but he's doing a heck of a good job with the cards that he's got, including the Rhino Republicans in the Senate who trash him every chance they get. And to show you that I use the tools that I ask you all to use, which is the lists on X to go find news stories. This came up from Mike Engelman at Real Hickory. And this is a 4-minute montage of John Cornyn bashing Trump, who's now asking Trump to endorse him. And we don't want that. There was a real primary in Texas where they put up a real conservative, not one with any questions, not saying Sarah's now a real conservative, but she didn't have the bona fides that Ken Paxton had. And again, quoting Scott Jensen, internet, do something. Well, the internet did something, fam. Listen to this.
I fully expect, unless there's some
That's John
surprise that
Cornyn.
none of us know anything about right now, that Joe Biden will be the next president.
Strong words from U.S. Senator John Cornyn out of Texas. The Republican says former President Donald Trump can't win the 2024 general election
He's
for
asking
president.
for Trump's
He also
endorsement.
says the GOP needs to find a candidate who actually can.
We did. His name's John Paxton. Continue.
This was all in a call with Texas reporters. Cornyn saying, I think President Trump's time has passed him by. And he adds, I don't think President Trump understands that when you run in a general election, you got to appeal to voters beyond your base.
I don't think there's been a better Republican who has appealed to more people beyond the Republican base than Donald J. Trump. You had Democrats, you had independents, you had whites, you had blacks, you had Hispanics, you had Indians, you had Asians, all behind President Trump. You hear the hypocrisy of some of these uniparty people?
Mr. President, I rise today to mark an important milestone for our friend, Senator Mitch McConnell.
Turtlehead, the guy who is just as cognitively bad off as Joe Biden, who sits there in the state of Kentucky and continues to obstruct President Trump at every move. Listen to this.
Senator McConnell's done it the old-fashioned way. He earned it.
No, he bought it, and he sold his soul to the devil to get it.
He earned this role as our leader and the respect certainly that goes along with it. But more than that, he's a rare example of what a senator ought to be. So thank you, Senator McConnell.
Senator Mitch McConnell is what a senator ought to be. You know what? Get them all out. Get them all out. Let's do a random number generator out of every state. Just put the population, just pick 2 names out of the hat, and you probably get people who love the United States more than what we got there now.
McConnell, for your example, thank you for your mentorship and for your friendship.
Just a few
Do you want someone who's been mentored by the devil? Not me.
weeks into our partnership as leader and whip, John presented me with a birthday gift. He'd framed and autographed a picture of ourselves. just an ordinary, not particularly glamorous shot of the two of us.
And I've passed more legislation, more bipartisan legislation than any other member of the Senate. That's not a mistake. It's because I reach out to people like Kirsten Sinema from Arizona, even Mark Warner from Virginia.
And that's the uniparty there. But I do have to put a disclaimer in for this. And if those of you who listen to the show know, I'm going to stick up for this person, and that is Kirsten Sinema, Democrat turned independent from Arizona. Just remember this, and you can bash the heck out of her all you want about her LGBTQ stuff, and I disagree with her, and I will call her out on that. But if it wasn't for Kirsten Sinema, right now, the filibuster would have been removed by the Democrats. They would have put in their stuff, and we would not even have a president today. It would have been Kamala Harris. It would have been Tampon Tim. And so we can whine and complain about Kirsten Sinema all enough. But every time you bash her down, you should call out the one thing. I mean, that's like the most heroic thing she ever did in her senatorial career. Sorry for the opining there and the opinion piece, but when you see something that's good, you got to call it out. You got to call it, keep it 100.
There was his handwritten message. Happy birthday, Mitch. I've got your back. And how fortunate I've been to be reminded every single day since that John Cornyn meant exactly what he said.
I want to bring this up as well. Liz Cheney, it'd be hard to find somebody more conservative in Congress than Liz Cheney. Perpetuating the big lie is an attack on the core of our constitutional republic. Is she right?
Well, I believe Joe Biden won the election. And
John Cornyn on record saying that he believes Joe Biden won the election. And now he wants Trump's endorsement. Man, I'm not bragging, but I might have to turn in one of my chips. There's absolutely no way that we can have this happen. Trump cannot endorse this guy.
And President Trump had about 60 different lawsuits that were unsuccessful in changing the outcome.
You mean like the ones in Fulton County in Arizona, where all of a sudden now, 4 years later, all those ballots are turning up improperly marked, machines not zeroed out. Everything that Trump said back in 2020 is actually true, and we're just finding out now. You see how the deep state works? And the thing is, if you went and met John Cornyn, you'd think he's a great guy.
But there's no question in my mind about the outcome of the last election.
Thank you for making all of us look better than any of us deserve. Thank you for always having all of our backs.
And we should not dictate from Washington, D.C. what sort of weapons they can get access to. We should let them make the decision and to provide them everything they need in order to defend.
So we can go ahead and give everything that Ukraine wants. We shouldn't determine what access they have. So does that mean, John Cornyn, you give him the discombobulator? Or some of the other toys that are being apparently used but not publicly talked about? What is it that you stand for, John Cornyn? I have yet to, and I've listened to a couple of his commercials. They're absolutely nothing.
Themselves and their country and defeat Vladimir Putin.
Prosecutors across the country are refusing to enforce laws that we already have. So if you're the United States Senate, if you're John Cornyn from Texas, supposedly free state of Texas, you'd probably want to do something about that. But no, John Cornyn has decided to take guns from lawful gun owners. And if there's one reason you vote Republican, it's to prevent that.
I'll tell you what, 2A, without 2A, you don't have the first. Without the second, you don't have the first. And here's John Cornyn, a gun grabber, wanting to get Donald Trump's endorsement. Yep, it's what's happening.
So it's not surprising that John Cornyn is very unpopular with Republican voters. Watch his reception today at the Texas Republican Convention. Listen for the boos.
Boo.
As ABC 13's Erica Simon explains, the boos all because of Cornyn's role leading bipartisan talks on gun reform.
Do you think the January 6th attack on the Capitol would have happened without the influence of Donald Trump claiming election fraud?
There's been appropriate investigations by the FBI and the Department of Justice.
Listen how tortured he sounds. He's picking his words oh so carefully because he knows that there was a cover up. He knows that there was something wrong. And yet he's one of these people who helped incite it all by not coming out and speaking the truth. No spine, no backbone.
A number of convictions, and I think that's the way that we deter this in the future.
Senator, what's your biggest concern for Texas right now, and what are you pushing for to deal with it?
I've been encouraging everybody to do what I've done, which is to get vaccinated, and to me,
there you go, get vaccinated. And you know what? Let's keep it 100 here, right, ladies and gentlemen? Has President Donald J. Trump come out against Operation Warp Speed? Have you ever heard him come out against it? I haven't. Everybody's out there saying, Andy, you're just a pro-Trump all the time. Look, when I disagree with President Trump, I'm going to say it. I think the vaccination mandate was wrong. I'm sure that when President Trump was given all the data from Fauci and all of those pill pushers and vaccinators, that was what looked right to him at that moment, and he made the decision and he went for it. And I'm positive that's what he's thinking. But, you know, when you get garbage in, you get garbage out. I still have Donald J. Trump's back.
that is a much better solution than getting the virus. But as I said, my advice to anybody who will listen and for anybody I care about is to get vaccinated. Take advantage of that. That's the best thing you can do for yourself and your family and your future.
I'm a Republican man. As soon as I was eligible to take the vaccine, I did it.
You know, that's so interesting. That's Mitch McConnell talking about how he got the vaccination. Look how sick he is now. I'm not wondering if that's not part of if he's not having complications from the vaccine at his age. I don't know. I know I spent 11 minutes of precious radio time kind of commandeering this video. But in the beginning of this show, Scott Jennings said, "Internet, do something." This is the internet doing something. Imagine if we had something like this in Mississippi, holding our politicians accountable, both when they do something great and when they do something bad. It would be incredible. You know, there's all this new AI video editing out there. This clearly was put together by a human. But there's so many AI editors out there right now where you can put stuff together and don't sit there and slice it up to make someone look bad. Put them all in context, like it's done here. There's no gotchas. That's like the worst type of politics you can practice is gotcha politics, because not only does it irritate the person that was kind enough to give you the interview, but now you've irritated them, and now everybody knows that you're a gotcha journalist / partisan hack, and they're not going to want to come and talk to you. There are people who I talked with. Some people on the show would say, "Andy, I can't believe that person talks to you." Well, I'm not a jerk, number one, and number two, I practice what I preach. And if I could get some of these senators on here that normally I disagree with, and I can articulate my argument with them without belittling them, well, then they're going to come on. We're going to have those discussions. We'll have some more on. I'm sure we will. But I wanted to play that video. Here, let's finish up the last 15 seconds. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, like Scott Jennings says, Internet, do something. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. Couple things here as we wrap up the top of the hour, first hour here. Picture I finally saw. I've been looking for it. It is the picture of Indagya Daegi, who was that's the Austin Iranian terrorist. And I had a couple posts or a couple comments saying that they couldn't find the picture of the Iranian T-shirt that the guy was wearing. And it's awesome when you have friends out there who hear those things and see those things, and they do the work for me, and they post a picture. So I've reposted on my X account at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser, a picture of this guy. I won't call him a gentleman. I'll call him a terrorist because that's what he is, wearing his Property of Allah hoodie. And then it's got it ripped open, and it's kind of a graphic picture, not too bad. I've seen much worse. It's got a picture of him with the Iranian flag, and it's not the Iranian flag with the lion symbol, which represents the old regime. This is the Islamic Republic of Iran T-shirt. So for all those people who are sitting there saying that we're not under attack, that there aren't sleeper cells here in America, actively plotting and planning, get over yourselves. These people have been screaming death to America for 47 years. You don't think that after 47 years of being brainwashed, they're not going to act out and do something? Well, Andy, if we just left them alone, no, that's not how it works. Look what's happening in New York. Look what's happening in Texas. In the next hour, I've got a video of the mayor's office in New York. That ought to be interesting. We're also going to talk about Brother Shad White doing work at the auditor's office. The BP Horizon oil spill. Where's that money really going? I just didn't watch his video. I went to the report and looked it up. You got to have the receipts. And that's the toughest part about being a conservative. It's easy to be a liberal. You just have to do what your heart tells you. And that's just what it is. But a conservative, you got to think. You got to be able to logically debate these suckers. All right, everybody, we'll be back. And we are back for hour number 2, ladies and gentlemen, of the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. And we're streaming on Rumble. And we're streaming on X. And we're streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up our 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal, hit us up on the stream. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you wouldn't mind, follow me on X. It's just at Andrew Gosser, ANDREW. GASSER. We'd appreciate that. If you want to be part of the show today, I know it's a little bit more national than local, but we'll fix that. Number is 601-879-0002. The text line is open. That number is 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. It is standard, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. And just like Scott Jennings says, internet, do something. I want to encourage you. I want to encourage all of you to build each other up, just like you already are doing. We get more people out there doing their little slice of the pie. It's going to make life so much better for all of us here in Mississippi and America. It really will. Can't do it by ourselves. The WYAB platform is powerful, and I respect it. I realize I'm only here for a little while, and I get to get on the airwaves for 2 hours a day and say some things that I see need to be said. But it's not always going to be that way. So one of the clips I didn't get to play in the last hour, specifically when we were talking about Abby's Phillip, CNN, and all that, with the terrorist ISIS bombing in New York, was a video that was put out by Zorhan Mandami. And this is in the mayor's office.
Make some of that.
For a moment, we were asking yourself how you can reconnect to growing up with being taught that.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're having their call to prayer in the mayor's office. Now, Andy, what's the big deal? Christians do it all the time. The thing is that's part of American culture. American culture is being snuffed out. It's being pushed away. And I'll continue to say it, even though it's an unpopular opinion. But that's why we had 5 bills in the Mississippi State House, and I think 3 in the Senate, that were at least proposed. They all died. None of them made it out of committee. It's unfortunate. But it's not too late to start working for next year. And that's where we're going to start focusing now. Shad White came out with a report this week, and it didn't get a lot of traction. And I just want to give it the proper respect that it's due, because we all love the environment. There's not any, I don't know any politician who wants to openly pour oil into the Gulf of America and pollute the environment. I think people disagree on whether or not oil is good or oil is bad. I think people disagree on consumption rates. But when we get a settlement for $500 million, and there's rules and laws in place to say how we're supposed to spend that money, well, I think we should follow them, don't you? Isn't that just the right thing to do? Follow the rules? Rules for thee, but not for me. Here's Brother Shad talking about it, and then I've pulled up the report, and we're just going to walk through some of these line items.
I just got home a little bit ago, so before my wife and kids walk in the door, I wanted to tell you about an important audit that we released earlier this week. It was an audit of the BP oil spill money. So between 2018 and 2033, Mississippi is going to receive over $500 million, more than $500 million of settlement money as a result of this oil spill. Now, common sense would tell you that what we should do as a state is take this money, get a team of experts, find the best game-changing investments that we could make on our Mississippi Gulf Coast and pour the money into those investments, right? Well, unfortunately, what we're finding is over 60% of the funds are being spent in a way that doesn't conform to what the state's own team of experts says could change the coast. In fact, a lot of money is being doled out to politicians' pet projects. Look, my big concern is that we're going to look back in a few years and we're going to realize we had a huge opportunity to change our Gulf Coast for the better, and we missed it because we had a bunch of politicians who wanted to fund a park bench here or a water fountain there. This is the kind of stuff that really needs to change in Mississippi government. It's the kind of stuff that we just need to use more common sense in. And also, even though I can't change it as state auditor, I'm going to keep telling you about it as long as I'm in this position.
And that is exactly the most important point of that video. It's not Auditor White's job to change what the spending is. It's his to report on it, and then for us to go ahead and say, is what Chad's saying correct or incorrect? And the report is absolutely devastating. They've got an appendix here, and I've been asked to make sure that I repost that on X as well. So if you go to my X account, you will see I have posted this report. And it's a pretty big report. It's 15 pages long. It will take you about 10 minutes to read if you're an active reader. In 10 minutes, well, yeah, because you got to sit there, read, comprehend, and put it into context, and form some thoughts about it. Now, if you're a lot smarter than me, which probably might not be saying it as much as we think, you can probably do it in 5 or 6, but give yourself 15 minutes. So they have an appendix there with all these different projects where they've either applied for the project, whether they've been recommended for the project is status, so whether it's complete, started, active, whatever, and then approved by the legislature. So here's one, Power Dynamics and Innovations, LLC, equipment and facility upgrades. They applied for it, the BP grant. Were they recommended? Nope. Is the project active? Yep. And guess how much they're getting paid? $1.55 million, ladies and gentlemen, of your BP oil settlement money going to Dynamics Innovations, LLC. Here's another thing, oil spill money. Now, I am not against police getting upgrades and stuff like that, but I'm thinking oil spill money goes to the coast, goes to the environment. That's why we did it, right? City of Bay St. Louis Old Town Police Department project. Applied for, yes. Recommended, no. Status complete. $1 million. City of Bay St. Louis Old Town Depot District project. Applied for, yes. Recommended, no. Completed, yes. $1.5 million. So whoever the state rep and senator is in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, you got some good ones there, because even though the projects are not recommended by the committee, they're getting funding and they're not getting little stuff. City of Diamond Head Commercial District Transformation Project. Applied, yes. Recommended, yes. So this is saying that panel saw some environmental value to this project. Completed, $1.5 million. This one's interesting to me because I can sort of see the usefulness of it. It's the Stone County School District High School CTE Center project. $3.2 million. It was applied for, it was recommended, and it was completed. Here's another one that I think these are some good ones here, because again, this is the environment. University of Southern Mississippi Ocean Enterprise Project, Phase 1. Obviously applied for, recommended, yes, $7 million. Here's where it gets really interesting. Harrison County Board of Supervisors Law Enforcement Training Academy Project. Applied for? Nope. They didn't even put in a grant for the BP oil spill money. Was it recommended? Nope. The project is complete. $3 million. So, ladies and gentlemen of the WYAB listening audience, how can something that's not been applied for, not been recommended, but still getting funded $3 million? And then I have to sit here and try to defend, well, it's important to vote for your local state rep and state senator because things like this happen if you don't. I look like I'm not being truthful. This is exactly why we need oversight like this. And the thing is there's not enough time in the day for just one person to go through every one of these things and look at it. Oh, here's a good one for the environment. George Regional Health System Cafeteria Expansion Project. Applied for? Nope. Recommended? Nope. Completed? Yep. $1,080,510 of environmental money going for a cafeteria. Not sure what the George Regional Health System is. Not really too concerned. It's a cafeteria. This one is kind of interesting to me. Mississippi State University Research and Technology Corporation, Mississippi Cyber Center Project. Are they using cyber tools to monitor the Gulf of America currents? Are they monitoring the weather, the environmental impact? That one's a little bit sketchy. But they didn't apply for a grant. They didn't get recommended for the grant. $3.5 million spent on that. Me being truly transparent, all of you know I love the railroad. I think it's honestly one of the greatest benefits that we have in Mississippi is our rail connections. Port of Pascagoula, North Rail Connector Project. How could this improve the environment? Well, let me sit here and try to put on perhaps they were upgrading the rail lines into the port there to make sure that there wasn't any coal spillage or oil spillage. I don't know, but they ended up getting $6.6 million. They didn't apply for the grant. They didn't get recommended for the grant, but they got $6.6 million. That's a lot of track. Man, there's just so many of them here, ladies and gentlemen. Jackson County Economic Development Foundation, the Rolls-Royce Naval Marine Support Project, $1.4 million. Pascagoula Redevelopment Authority, City Center Project, $4 million. Man, it must be nice to be able to be a politician and just write checks that you don't have to worry about. I'll tell you what, it does feel good when you're a county board of supervisors member and you get to do stuff like that. It does feel good. And I'm saying that not as a smart aleck, but as someone who was a board of supervisors, part of board of supervisors. It feels good when you can go ahead and have improvement. But I'm from Illinois, and we didn't even do stuff like this. Well, unless we were part of the union, then we got away with whatever we wanted. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Be right back. Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show, right here on 103.9 WYAB. We're politically stacked. We're covering all the news. And I cover it from around the United States, as you know. And being a military man, I've got to live in a lot of different states. And unfortunately, this is not coming out of a state. Unfortunately, it's coming out of the Commonwealth of Virginia. There's been a active shooting at Old Dominion University. No real details coming out yet, other than 2 were wounded and the shooter is dead. That's all I could get out of it. We'll continue to monitor that. If anything breaks in the show, obviously we'll talk about it. But the next story I want to talk about is Hollywood and how depraved it is, how decrepit it is, how full of, I mean, it truly is sin. And this one is going to kind of hit home with some people because I know a lot of people love the movie Dances with Wolves. Dances with Wolves actor to be sentenced in Las Vegas for sexually assaulting indigenous girls. What the heck are we doing in Hollywood? You know, in the 80s and the 90s and 2000s, everybody wanted to be an actor, everyone wanted to be a star, and it just seems like they slept their way to the top. And now that they're having all these regrets, we're starting to find out about things that perhaps people didn't wanna sleep their way to the top. They were assaulted and abused. Chasing Horse, who played Smiles a lot in the Oscar-winning film, faced 13 guilty verdicts related to assaults on 3 victims, one of whom was 14 years old when the abuse began. He faces a 25-year minimum prison sentence while also facing charges in Canada and an outstanding warrant in Alberta for similar offenses. I mean, that's a pattern of abuse there. And at some point, we have to be honest with ourselves and say, when are we gonna start holding these pedos accountable? I don't know how old this guy is now. To be truthful with you, I've always told people I'm not a movie person. This is kinda silly, but if you wanna know if it's not Star Wars, it's not Transformers, it's not Marvel, I probably haven't gone to the theater. I've gone to see a few other Disney movies, but as they got wokeified, I would be watching a movie with the Sweet Bee and the Sweet Toots, and I'd be pointing out the wokeism, and I ruined Disney for them, which I think is a good thing because we don't need that woke garbage, but I just don't wanna give money to the theater. Now, we did go see David, we did go see Top Gun, and if there's a Chosen playing in the theater, we'll go to try to watch that too. But that's all something that, you know, you can take your kids to, and you're not gonna have to worry about them coming out abused, scarred, or otherwise having nightmares. The sentencing for Nathan Chase Horse, the former Dancing with Wolves actor, has actually been delayed by a week. That just literally popped up. But he's gonna be first charged in Las Vegas. I don't know if they'll extradite him to Canada or not. But this goes to a bigger problem. You know, we are having more and more of these incidents show up where people have been abusing our kids. Is that part of human nature in and of itself? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here. Is there some type of primal animalistic primacy type of thing? I don't I've never had any inkling for any of that. We've got Tim Tebow coming out last week. Over 50,000 cases of people IP addresses, 50,000 individual IP addresses of adults downloading child pornography. Less than 10 of those are being investigated. It's a war on our kids, man. I don't understand why the cops won't get involved and won't go after this. And then when they do, this will make all the big headlines. Everybody will think we're back to normal. And everything will be all right that way. We won't talk about all the really big stuff that's going on. Apparently, they're doing some excavation dig in Epstein's ranch in New Mexico. I haven't heard anything about that. This is pretty good. Iran comes out and continues to say that the Straits of Hormuz are closed, but China still gets 1.5 million barrels of Iranian oil per day. I don't know if they're going through the Straits of Hormuz. I don't know if there's some secret pipeline between Iran. Well, it couldn't be because it's got to go through Afghanistan, and I know some of those Afghanis, and they're going to want their cut. A big story that is breaking out is the gas generators up in northern Mississippi to fire up those data centers that are going to be put in. And there are a lot of people who are upset over it because the approval for these gas generators, 47, the vote was held on election day. Are the people who are upset over this, and let's be truthful, they're probably mostly a bunch of NIMBYs, not in my backyards. Are they upset because it got approved on election day, or are they just upset because it got approved? People are asking me for my handle on X. It's just at Andrew Gasser, at AndrewGasser. You can find all the links to my show prep and stuff on there as I go through the show. 47 gas generators, that's really a lot of noise. And the data centers, whether you want them or not, they're needed. Where we put them or not can be debated. But what really strikes me is, again, here's another opportunity for Mississippi to lead the way with nuclear energy. And we didn't even investigate that. And with all the complaints of this being passed on election day, does that mean we need to make election day a national holiday? Does that mean that elections actually matter? I have so many election day texts that I didn't get a chance to talk about, but I did want to talk about this one. Give me just a second as I pull it up here. Andrew, I just want to thank you for your election day coverage. I actually went out and did what you said. I called 3 of my friends, I texted another 3, and we all ended up going to vote. My candidate didn't win, but I felt like I actually got something accomplished. That's the kind of stuff that gives me hope. I'm not sure who the candidate was. I don't know if it was the senatorial candidate. I don't know if it was the congressional candidate. I don't even know what district they're in. Unknown texter. That's the kind of impact that this show can have, and I want you to have that impact. That person with themselves, because it doesn't, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but that's 7 votes. In a big congressional district, that might not seem like a lot, but in a local ward alderman race, a local county board race, and we will have Brother Don on tomorrow, I think in the 11 o'clock hour, which I'm excited for, because this is going to be able to point out just how important being an election judge is, especially in Hinds County. You know, there are good people and bad people in every organization. There's not one organization out there that doesn't have a bad apple in there. From the Air Force to the Navy to the Marines to the Army to the Coast Guard to the Space Force to the Police Force to the Sheriff's Department to the FBI to the CIA. Some of those organizations might have more bad people than good. I'll give you that. But don't let that one bad apple completely ruin the bushel. Don't let that one bad apple end up ruining the experience that you have or the impact that you have. And I say this because I know that there are some good people inside the election commission in Hinds County. I'm not saying we're going to go to church on Sunday. I'm not saying we're going to go have a meal, but we're cordial and we get along, and they genuinely do take care of the stuff that I asked to get taken care of. They're responsive. But Hines County needs a lot of help, and Don answered the call. He did a great job, and we're grateful for him. So we'll have him on the air tomorrow. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show. This is going to be a story that just goes to show you, don't look at the title of the bill and say it's good or not. Don't just go to the headline. You go to read the story. And when you hear the story, you're going to think it's a good thing. But in the end, it's not. This is coming from the Magnolia Tribune, Mr. Daniel Tyson. Lawmakers move to create a fetal and infant mortality review panel. You know, Mississippi, we're always told we've got the highest vaccination rates, yet we have the highest infant mortality rate. What's going on with that? Some people blame ethnicity to it. They say that black babies die more than white babies. And there might be some truth to that. There might not be. We need to find that out for sure. And we need to study that. But guess what? Won't be discussed in that. Immunization records. This is one of those bills that it looks great up front and everybody's going to pat themselves on the back, but in the end, it's not going to do that. And I just want to read some of this reporting here because the reporting is good and Daniel actually puts in the relevant stuff, which is important to me. Amid high emotions Wednesday, the Mississippi State Senate passed a strike-all amendment bill that would create a medical panel to review the state's high fetal and infant mortality rate. The panel would be multidisciplinary and composed of such members as deemed appropriate by the Senate or the State Department of Health. So you can already see here that they're starting to put guidelines on this. They're already starting to put guidelines on this. Originally authored by State Rep. Missy McGee, would establish a fetal and infant mortality system or panel to review and examine deaths of infants up to 1 year of age. The panel would also develop strategy to prevent deaths. Now, this is important here because when you're going to put together a panel like this that are going to be making recommendations to the public, no pun intended, you want to immunize them from their opinions. The measure would provide legal immunity to review panel members in a civil and criminal proceedings. Additionally, the review panel would be allowed to hold closed meetings. However, votes, rules, and regulators must be taken during an open meeting. So everything that they're going to discuss, not only are they immunized from, which I don't have a problem with that because it's all in the open and people can decide for themselves whether the person is a moron or not. But now all the discussions are a closed session. So we'll never know what we're saying. We just have this board that meets and comes out with their cryptic findings and votes on a package. We don't ever get to see the data. The taxpayer's paying for that data. This isn't some black space alien saucer project in DARPA that we're trying to get here. We're trying to figure out why so many babies are dying in Mississippi. And yet everybody's patting themselves on the back for passing this thing. What started as a heated debate over two amendments offered by State Senator Angela Hill, you know, this lady gets more garbage and heat from more of the establishment political class than she deserves. Common sense reforms and immediately just goes completely down the drain. Quickly turned to silence when what started as a heated debate over two amendments offered by Senator Angela Hill quickly turned to silence when State Senator Michael McClendon spoke about the heartbreak of losing two grandsons just days before they were born. Hill's First Amendment would require the panel to review the child's immunization and medical records to analyze any immunizations and emergency countermeasures administered within 90 days before the child's death. You'd think that'd be common sense. It's important data. You know what? Louisiana did this. Why is it that other states can get such conservative measures passed, but we're just having a hard time here in Mississippi? Including in cases where it's sudden death, infant death syndrome, and sudden unexpected infant death. SIDS is scary. Those of us who are parents understand. I remember that SIDS being a big deal when my sons were born back in the 90s. I would ask that you put this language in the bill. There is no harm in it. Hill urged her colleagues before the amendment passed. They truly want to look back on how the child really dies. The language needs to be put in. Hill's second amendment failed. The amendment would have required the review panel's report to be subject to the Mississippi Public Records Law, made available for public review. Under the failed amendment, personal identifiable information and HIPAA information would have been redacted. So they can't use the excuse that, oh, well, there's going to have personal information, baby born in Brandon, Mississippi on this street to these parents. No, that information wouldn't have been in there. Chairman Bryan opposed both of Hill's amendments. Prior to the chamber's vote on the final passing of the bill, Senator Bryan yielded the podium to Senator McClendon. As he spoke, the chamber fell silent as chats between politicians and Senate staff ceased. That's always a good tactic, using personal plea like that. Look, I think that we need bills like this. We need to go look into child infant mortality rates, especially amongst the Black community. Is it because that they're not getting access to hospitals like white people are? Is it because of poverty? Is it because of nutrition? What is it? Let's be honest with it. But let's also have all the facts in there. Immunization rates. You know what? This might be one of the things where, where children who were born to a minority family didn't have the chance to go get all the shots, so they die. That might have proven out. Does the mama in certain populations have access to prenatal vitamins? But what is really scary is that they're going to do all this work behind closed doors, and you're never going to be able to see it. That to me is unconscionable. If there were, I hope the House kills this or puts Senator Hill's amendments back in there. There's not one Republican senator sitting in the Mississippi Senate right now that can tell me it's a good idea to hide all that data. Frankly, all it does is give the conspiracy theorists a bunch of more stuff to run on, the Candace Owenses of the world. There are plenty of common sense, good people out there who say, yes, let's do this. And if you're a pro-vaxxer, you should want the vaccination records of that. Because it's going to come out and say those kids who were vaccinated didn't die. Those who didn't get the vax, they were the ones who did die. And the anti-vaxxers, yeah, let's see it all. We're paying for the money. What is the play behind keeping all of this silent? Senator McClendon said Mississippians see why the state has the highest infant mortality rate in the U.S. If it is because of vaccines, poisonous drinking water, poor air quality, or if Mississippians are under too much stress, the public deserves an answer, he said. Yeah, but we won't ever get the data on it. We'll just have some rocket wizard in the back, some Fauci character sitting there giving that. I've seen this dog and pony show before. And I brought up NASA and the rocket wizards. They told us back in 2007, 2008, we had to use then the Space Launch System. It's called Artemis today. It's only flown once. Cost $20 billion to fly one time, and it can't even do everything it said it's going to do. But we couldn't know all the data back then. They had to have a private panel that made the recommendations for it. Now we're having the same thing here. How many of us know senators? How many of us know people who represent us in Jackson? Man, Miss Mary Jo must be having a field day over this. MPVR. Senator McClendon walked out of the well of the Senate within the chamber, near in tears. Yep. We want to find out why your grandkids died too. But we want to know the data. We don't want to know the names of the people. We don't want to know their addresses. But if we're going to spend millions and millions of dollars tracking this stuff and figuring this out, we need that data public, not just the votes. not just the end reports. We need the data. The American people have been lied to way too many times, especially over health and medical issues lately. The scamdemic has taught people on both sides of the issue to get it all out there. And honestly, this is why we have so many people black-pilled. It's because of crap like this. What could have been a perfectly great bill, which everybody could have got behind. Nope, we gotta have our deliberations in private. We can't have anything there. We can't really find out that the pharmaceutical companies are having a lot of side effects. Have you listened to some of these pharmaceutical commercials? They talk about, "Oh, this is great for diabetes," and then they give you 35 seconds of the commercial is all about the possible side effects, including death, constipation, hard time peeing, hard time thinking. Why you wanna put that crap in your body anyway? The United States is only one of 2 countries in the world that allows pharmaceutical companies to advertise. And we have the deepest pockets. It's just a way to siphon money out of the American economy and put it into something else. We're kidding ourselves if we think that this is a good bill. It's sad to me. It really makes me angry. My senator is a Democrat and probably voted against it. I'll pull it up during the break and find out. Just absolutely horrible. I I I mean, what can you say about that? What can you say about that? There's nothing else to say. You are listening to the Andrew Gossett Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're gonna take our last commercial break. We'll be right back.
Mujtaba Khamenei, the leader of the Islamic Republic, in their first public
Yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Let's just play this here. We were talking about CNN and how they're the communist news network, the Clinton news network. That they've got Abby's Phillip on there. They've got the forehead Paul Begala on there, just spewing complete lies, right? Well, let's hear what CNN is posting right now.
Mujtaba Khamenei, the leader of the Islamic Republic, in their first public speech.
All right, that's enough. Fake news CNN just aired 4 straight minutes of uninterrupted Iranian state TV run by the same psychotic, murderous regime that has prided itself upon, that has prided itself on brutally slaughtering Americans for 47 years. CNN, the one who wouldn't run a Trump press conference because they said it was fake news, all of a sudden now give Iran airtime on U.S. airwaves. I can understand clips and breaking it down. 4 minutes uninterrupted. What is this? The Iranian State of the Union? Am I the only one seeing this? Am I the only one that's seeing that our systems in government are trying to take the people down? It's not the people trying to take the government down. It's the government trying to take us down. Whoever made this journalistic decision needs to be fired. And again, I'm not for not covering it. It's important. But when you have a Iranian talking head, a woman in a full, not even a hijab, a burqa, reading a statement from a cardboard Ayatollah, give me a break, man. Give me a break. We got to end the news on a positive note here. We got to end the news on a positive note. And with that, I know how I'm going to do it. I absolutely know how I'm going to do it. This is music I normally save for the Sweet Bee, but it's not going to be for the Sweet Bee. This is actually going to be for a Democrat. Yep. You're not going to believe this one. Breaking news. Michigan Representative Karen Whitsett, Democrat, announces she won't seek re-election, saying that the Democratic Party does not align with her Christian values. In the end, I have to answer to God. It's impossible to be faithful to and a follower of Jesus Christ while remaining a member of the Democrat Party and as it exists today. I have compromised my relationship with Jesus for too long. If that ain't the truth. You got these women's livers out there sacrificing their babies, hoeing around, doing all sorts of unconscionable things. And it's not that white people aren't doing it too. But here's a Democrat standing up for her faith, and we need more of that in America. And we salute her. Karen Whitsett, Democrat, Michigan Representative. God bless you. We'll see you all again in about 22 hours, everybody. It's a Founding Fathers Friday. Take care. Be blessed.